Hi, I'm State Senator Teri Bonoff talking to you from the Capitol. Well, the big news this week is the Senate put out its fiscal targets, and what that means is each budget division got a number, and they said you need to have your spending live within this number. And I can tell you, as the chair of Higher Ed and Workforce Development, I was very pleased with my quote number. It basically said that we, like the governor, would come forward with increased investments in higher education of approximately $263 million. And that takes into account funding some important new things at MnSCU, like, for example, internships, leveraged equipment, as well as being able to freeze tuition at the University of Minnesota and make sure that we're doing what we can in the area of research. I have appreciation for that budget target, but then I also have some concern. And the reason why is because when you add up all of the budget targets, it says that we in the Senate are going to spend an additional, I'll look at my notes here, $1.4 billion more than we spent in the last biennium. And then it's kind of like when you get presents, you say, okay, well, that spending's great, but how are you going to pay for them? And that's when really the rubber hits the road, because it's pretty hard to come up with consensus with regard to this. And you could say, well, we shouldn't be spending that much more. We should live within our means, and we should do this, and we should do that. But at the end of the day, it's important to look below those numbers and see what it is we're actually spending our dollars on. What are we getting for those dollars? And are our priorities right? And that is the task of the legislature for the coming weeks. So I want you to know that I take that task very seriously, and that I know each family has to work hard to make sure they spend their dollars in keeping with their means, their values, and their commitments, and we at the legislature have to do the same. So I take nothing for granted. I understand the governor has proposed to take all expanded sales tax off the table and move forward with a commitment to raise income taxes on the fourth tier. I've never been for that, as I've believed that a more unifying approach would be a shared burden approach, and that would go back to expanding the base of the sales tax. So those are the kinds of conversations we'll be having, and I know that you'll continue to watch it, as these things directly affect the people I represent. And that is why it's so important that we stay in communication and that I make sure to listen to you. So again, this week we put a survey out, and I will be anxious to hear your comments. Have a great week. I won't have an update next week because we'll be on Passover Easter break, and I will be celebrating Passover on Monday night, and then later in the week we'll go to see my son in Los Angeles. So you have a happy and healthy holiday week as well.